Okay, so it's been about 3 weeks since I actually said I was gonna do this, and yeah, what's up? I could say I'm sorry, but I've said that enough. You guys at this point know what's been going on. So this is week 2 of the Arcanine9 League. If you guys may have missed the first week match and the little draft analysis I kind of threw in there, then I'll leave a link to that down below. But this week we are facing the Boston Blazikens, known as Jamal. I don't know if he has a YouTube or not, but yeah, we're facing Jamal here. So looking at the matchup down in the right hand corner, Mamoswine just kind of destroys me. Like, there's honestly, I'm more worried about Mamoswine in this match than I'm worried about Magearna. Like, I have a decent way of dealing with Magearna because Magearna absolutely needs to be Spadef bulky Assault Vest or Spadef bulky with Pain Split, because otherwise my opponent just gets 6-0'd by Protein Greninja. So his best answer is defensive Magearna, which in return makes offensive Mamoswine a little bit of a terrifying threat. I guess on the bright side, I do have a lot of things that outspeed it in return, but if it comes in, I basically sack something, and that could be very bad in the long run. Dragon Dance Zardex along with Calm Mind Raikou are also a little bit scary because Raikou is one of his Z-Mons, along with Mamoswine and Magearna, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't expect offensive Magearna whatsoever. Z Mamoswine would actually be better for me because Adamant Life Orb is the worst case scenario in this match, and if it's not Life Orb, I can deal with it a little bit easier. And then Z Shadow Ball Raikou is, I believe, like the scariest thing he could bring against me. Along with potentially Calm Mind, or if it is sub Calm Mind, Thunderbolt, Z Shadow Ball, that could be really bad as well. Jellicent and Cresselia, I'm not entirely too concerned of. Jellicent could be a little bit annoying, but I have Greninja and other ways of being able to deal with it. Same thing for Cresselia. Mandibuzz, I could expect him to bring if he thinks that maybe I'm going to try and hazard stack him. The Excelgor, Hariyama, Serena, and Miltank, I think, are all slightly likely to come. Like, I really don't think either 4 of those mons are going to come. Miltank, because I have 2 fighting types. Serena at speed tier is really not that good this match. It's not bulky enough to take really anything too offensively wise. Hariyama is really slow, and I guess it can take hits, but the fact that it's so slow, I can just take advantage of that into my favor. And then Excelgor, I guess if Excelgor is choice specs, it could be a little bit scary, but maybe if it's like a spike stacking lead or some type of weird baton pass set maybe, then I guess it could be a little bit awkward to deal with, but I'm not really concerned about it. So taking a look at the first set here, we do have Water Z Greninja, because between Dark Pulse and Hydro Pump, everything just kind of gets smacked on my opponent's team. Like, literally, my opponent has no good answer to Greninja. Greninja pretty much could 6-0 my opponent on its own. And then T-Spikes there are just kind of as a filler move because it was between Spikes or T-Spikes, and because my opponent has no poison type whatsoever, and if I can be aggressive enough, I should be able to stop him from defogging. I figured that T-Spikes would be nice. Next up, we have Mega Blastoise here, a physically defensive set with Modest to be able to take on a offensive Dragon Dance Mega Zardex, who should be able to live any +1 hit from Zardex, and then in return, after a little bit of chip damage, knock him out with a Modest Dragon Pulse. And then we have Roar for potential setup. We have Water Pulse for stab and Dark Pulse for initially stab as well. Like, Blastoise kind of works offensively the same as Greninja. Like, between Dark Pulse and Hydro Pump and Dark Pulse and Water Pulse, these 2 mons kind of hit everything for neutral or super effective damage, which is really nice. So hopefully that will be able to help us out. Next up, we have our best Raikou answer in the form of Spadef Bulky Assault Vest Dawn Fan here. There is no way that a +1 Raikou should ever be able to a KO Donphan, even if it is Life Orb, if I am not mistaken. So this is really nice, and between all of our offensive moves, it should be able to hit absolutely everything. And then Gungshot has the plus of being able to potentially poison whatever we hit, so maybe we can poison something like Jellicent, Cresselia, or Miltank. So yeah, that's really nice. We have Spadef, Boku, Kaseb, Berry, Jirachi, because this not only deals with Z Shadow Ball Raikou, but this also deals with potentially offensive Magearna, just on the slight chance that my opponent does want to bring it. But again, I really feel like he wants to bring a more defensive Magearna for our Greninja. So this set is able to deal with both of those offensive mons, as well as being able to just spread Toxic to the entirety of my opponent's team, and then pass off wishes to hopefully Blastoise and our Donphan, and also our Mesprit, even, because Mesprit is legitimately only here to deal with the Mamoswine. Like, outside of Mamoswine, Mesprit pretty much has no other use, and even though we can't entirely do too much damage to it, just getting off any little bit of extra chip damage, or just being able to get up rocks, would be really good for us. And then finally off, we have good old Infernape here, rocking a nice Choice Scarf set, because this deals with a potential Shift Gear Magearna, and it's also able to outspeed the entirety of my opponent's team, unless for some odd reason he brings Choice Scarf Raikou, which I really doubt he's going to end up bringing. So yeah, that is our squad for week 2 here. Let's get this started. Okay, so I have something I want to talk about at the end of the battle, because I don't want to take your guys' time up here at the beginning of the game. So if you guys want to hear that, it's going to be regarding draft leagues in January, which I think you guys are going to be very excited about if you guys have been enjoying my draft league content this year. But yeah, maybe if you guys can just listen to that and let me know what you think, that would be pretty cool. Otherwise, if you enjoy this, leave a thumbs up if you enjoy it. If you don't, then dislike it. Let me know why you hated it. I don't really know, but leave a comment. Yeah. So I talked about my team at the team builder portion of this video, which was before this part here. So looking at my opponent's team, I'm very happy to see that they did not bring the Mamoswine, because Mamoswine was absurdly difficult for me to try and properly switch into. But it does make sense why they wouldn't want to bring it, because I did have a lot of offensive threats that not only outsped Mamoswine, but did threaten it with super effective moves, so that really could have helped me in the long run here. However though, setup Zard X and setup Z Move Raikou are easily the two biggest offensive threats on my opponent's team, because I'm still set on the fact that my opponent needs to absolutely have a Spadef, bulky Magearna, whether it be leftovers, a Papa Berry, Assault Vest, or Pain Split. It needs to be Spadef, because my opponent has legitimately no answers to Protean Greninja outside of Magearna, and then Mandibuzz and Jellicent shouldn't be that big of an issue for us to deal with. So I decided to lead off with my Infernape here. I was very close to leading off with Greninja, but I was fearing the fact that my opponent could lead off with potentially the Raikou or the Excelgor, both of which my Infernape did deal with, but he ends up leading off with the Jellicent, and this is immediately annoying because I have to go for the U-turn. Well, I mean, I guess I could have hard switch, but U-turn is just nice with chip damage either way. And I'm going to end up bringing in my Greninja here in the hopes that he would just go for like a Shadow Ball or a Scald, but he ends up going for the Toxic. Now, this is not entirely too bad, because I still know that my opponent has absolutely no good answer to this Greninja. So thinking that he would want to keep his Jellicent for my Infernape, I go for the Ice Beam, expecting Mandibuzz or potentially the Magearna, because I guess I could have froze it, I guess, maybe. But Ice Beam, I felt there was a pretty nice move. As he stays in, goes for the Dazzling Gleam, I am then going to decide to get on my T-Spikes, thinking that, okay, if he switches out, I at least get on my T-Spikes and I can still keep Greninja for later in this match. But no, he just goes for the Scald again. And we talked after the battle, and the reason he stayed in with Jellicent was because he knew that Greninja was such a giant, massive threat to his team that he needed to play so aggressively against it. Like, he did not care if I went for the offensive move like attacking the Pokemon in front of me, or expecting him to switch and going for the prediction play. He was just focused on getting rid of Greninja, and I lose my Greninja very early on in this battle, which is really bad because, again, that was the biggest offensive threat I had. So I bring in my Blastoise here, and at this point I figured he had the Dark Pulse. He didn't have leftovers. He kept leaving in Jellicent, even if it took a Dark Pulse. Even if it did Dark Pulse, it could take the Dark Pulse, so it didn't matter. So I popped the Dark Pulse here with my, I popped the Culpa Berry with my Dark Pulse as he goes for the Toxic. The fact that he Toxic me could be a little bit annoying, because if that Dragon Dancing Zardex sets up, then that could be very bad for me. However, though, I guess it could be more of a defensive set, but Dragon Dance Zardex just had such a good matchup against me if I didn't bring the right prep. And I Dark Pulse the incoming Magearna here. Regardless, I felt like Dark Pulse was my best play to go there, because I got off damage on whatever came in, and I didn't have to risk giving back HP to that Jellicent. As I bring in my Donphan, he goes for the Dazzling Gleam. I figured Donphan regardless was my best switch in. There was a slight possibility he could have gone for the Volt Switch as well, but I don't expect him to leave in Magearna. But on the slight chance that he does, and maybe he wants to go for the Ice Beam, I decide to bring in my Jirachi, as he actually doubles out into his Mandibuzz. And this is fine with me, because I want to try and Toxic his defensive walls, as he actually ends up bringing in the Zard here, and I miss my Toxic. Now, at the time of me missing that Toxic, it really sucked, but as you're gonna see here, it doesn't necessarily matter too much at all. So he ends up Mega Evolving here as I bring in my defensive Mega Blastoise, and I'm able to easily take this Flare Blitz, and I can then also potentially take any one hit from this RX, unless he turns out to be an Outrage variant, if I'm not mistaken. So I decide to go for the Dragon Pulse, just on the chance that he would want to stay in, and luckily he does, and I'm able to knock him out with the modest Dragon Pulse here, which is absolutely huge, because if he had switched out there and saved his Zardex for later in this match, this game would have been infinitely harder. But I think he did say that he calced for any hit being able to knock me out unless I was very physically defensive. So he decided to take the risk there, and unfortunately it did not pay off for him, as on the double down he brings in Mandibuzz and I bring in my Jirachi. My Jirachi has an amazing matchup now that the Zardex is gone, because Zardex was the best thing that he had to be able to OHKO my Jirachi. So I get off a Toxic on the Mandibuzz here, which is absolutely amazing, because now I'm going to be able to wear it down every time as I protect, and he's going to take a little bit of toxic damage here. Either way, my game plan at this point is to hopefully be able to Toxic as many things as I possibly can, and then in return maybe I can win with a Scarf Infernape late in the battle here. So he goes for the Defog and he gets rid of my T-Spikes, which really sucks, because this means that if that Raikou is Subcom Mind with a Z Shadow Ball, it could legitimately just 6-0 me. So I need to be absolutely careful around the Raikou and just ensure that it does not come in and set up for free. So I'm able to Toxic the incoming Jellicent here, which you would think is really good, rather. You would think getting off a Toxic on Jellicent is going to be amazing, because not only did I Toxic the Mandibuzz, I also Toxic the Jellicent. I Toxic all of his walls, were in a good spot. No, this Jellicent turns out to be a giant nuisance later in this match. So I go for the Iron Head here, just on the slight possibility that he did want to stay in with the Jellicent, so I could have potentially flinched him, but he does make a nice aggressive play here into the Raikou, and I really wish I had gone for the Toxic, but it's fine, because I still have my Donphan. At this amount of HP, Donphan lives any +1 hit, any +1 Z move, any +1 Life Orb move from this Raikou, and I'm guessing he knows that, so he's going to decide to switch out here, and just expecting him to not want to sack off the Raikou, I do decide to go for the knockoff, because again, realistically, there was no reason for him to stay in there with the Raikou. Like, worst case scenario for him was that I was Assault Vested, Spadef, Bulky, or Yachi Berry Spadef bulky, and I live one hit, and then in return knock him out with the Earthquake. So I figured knockoff there was going to be my best play as I get rid of the leftovers on the Mandibuzz. I bring in my Mesprit here. Mesprit legitimately has no use for me because he did not decide to bring the Mamoswine, so I don't care what this Mandibuzz wants to do to my Mesprit. As long as I'm able to get up rocks, because the Mandibuzz is toxic, I should be in a really good spot. So I get up rocks, but he ends up bringing in the Magearna, and I decide to go for the U-turn here into my Donphan. I was so close, so painfully close to just bringing in Jirachi. Like, my gut was telling me, bring in Jirachi, bring in Jirachi. You're a bitch if you don't bring in Jirachi, and I was a bitch. So I brought in Donphan when realistically I didn't need to bring in Donphan here, and then I just get 2 KO'd by the Ice Beam, which really sucks because essentially I just kind of threw away my Donphan to throw it away. And Donphan could have been a little bit helpful for me later in this match. I guess on the bright side, I can bring in my Infernape here, and I just click Flare Blitz. Honestly, like, even if he brings in the Jellicent, doesn't really matter. It's toxic, and I think I have rocks up as well, so it's taking rocks, it's taking toxic, it's taking Flare Blitz. Like, I really don't mind if this thing does switch in here and he does want to decide to save the Magearna, because I can still deal with the Magearna. As long as I have Infernape and Jirachi in this battle, I pretty much have a good chance to win the match here. So I bring in my Jirachi as he goes for the Scald. I really thought he would go for the Recover there, just on the off chance that I did want to go for the Flare Blitz, but the fact that he did go for Scald was very, very terrifying. However, he does not get the burn, and then I can go for the Wish as he does decide now to go for the Recover. And I have a couple plays I can do here. I could switch out, I can stay in and go for the Protect, or I can also go for the Iron Head. I could even Toxic, expecting him to switch out, which is what I do as he goes for another Scald. Luckily does not get the burn. Realistically, even if he does get the burn with Scald, I still have a pretty nice chance in this match, or at least I still have a chance of possibly winning, and that's what I'm trying to say. If he does get the burn, then it's fine. If he doesn't get the burn, that's really good. So I go for the Iron here, and I catch the incoming Mandibuzz, and I decide to risk it. It's a 60% chance. If I can flinch this Mandibuzz, I prevent him from going for the Defog, and if I am able to keep up my Stealth Rocks in this game, I will have a nice little bit of an advantage, which is going to be very, very helpful for me. So down goes the Mandibuzz as I was able to get the flinch, and in comes the Raikou, which again, I have no idea what this Raikou is. Literally, worst case scenario is sub Calm Mind Z Shadow Ball Raikou. So I stay in here as he gets a crit with the Shadow Ball. I do go for the Wish, and if I hadn't gone for the Wish here, I would have not only lost my Jirachi, but I probably would have lost the match. But I mean, I lose the match either way if he goes for a Z Shadow Ball here, as he actually ends up going for the Calm Mind, predicting me to Protect. And again, like, Protect was so painfully obvious, but I had to go for it either way because it was my best move at the moment. Because if I lose this Jirachi, I basically lose this battle. Like, Mesprit plus Infernape is not going to give me a chance of winning this game. Jirachi plus Infernape is. So I decided to bring in my Mesprit here thinking, alright, he's going to Z Shadow Ball. He has to Z Shadow Ball now. So I sack off Mesprit, I bring in Infernape, I'm fine. But he goes for the Shadow Ball. Just a regular Shadow Ball. So at this point, I'm like, okay, maybe, just maybe he does not have the Z Shadow Ball. Maybe, just possibly. So I bring in my Infernape and I go for the Earthquake thinking, okay, I 2-hit KO potentially anything. Even if he brings in the Excelgor, I'm not worried about it. As I get off a good amount of damage on the Jellicent, I'm thinking that this next Earthquake will be able to knock him out, which it is not able to knock. He had to have lived on one. I don't know if I got low rolled on that Earthquake, or if maybe like my first one was a high roll and then the second one was a low roll. But if I had been able to knock out that Jellicent right there, I would have been in such an amazing position, because Scarfed Infernape basically just wins me the match at this point. But now I'm down to my Jellicent to take on the Excelgor, which I have no idea what set it is, and to also take on this Raikou, which again, I have no idea what set it is. My best hopes and wishes is that it's not Z Shadow Ball, because he hasn't gone for it yet. So as he goes for the Calm Mind, I get off a Toxic. This is amazing because now I can hopefully maybe try to play around the Shadow Ball and Z Shadow Ball mind games if he is that type of Raikou set. So I go for the Protect on his regular Shadow Ball. This is okay if he turns out to not be Z Shadow Ball, because as you can see here, a regular Shadow Ball is almost able to knock me out as I go for the Wish, and he gets a Spadaf drop. So now if he is Z Shadow Ball, he needs to go for it. Like, he basically knocks me out and wins the battle. Regardless, I Protect here, as he does not go for the Z Shadow Ball, and he dies to the Toxic. It turns out that he was expert belted, and I was too ignorant to decide to check the damage calcs. So yeah guys, calcing during a battle is very, very nice. As in comes the Excelgor, he got a Spadef drop on me, so my biggest fear at this point in the battle is that he can hit me with the regular Bug Buzz and then crit me and basically just win. So that's what I am trying to avoid. If it comes down to me having to PP stall him, then that's fine. But it turns out that he wasn't actually Modest Choice Specs, and he's not Life Orb, as you can see. I think it was just slightly special attack invested, but either way, I don't want to risk a crit into a regular Bug Buzz or a regular Bug Buzz into a crit, knocking out my Jirachi. So I just keep Wish Protecting, Wish Protecting. Eventually, he gets a second Spadef drop, and I'm like, okay, screw it. If he crits me, he crits me. As I Iron Head him, he goes for the Bug Buzz, but he doesn't crit me, and then the second Iron Head will be enough to finish him off, and we just barely claw out with the victory here. This is only week 2, and this game was already this intense. So very, very GG, good game, great game to Mr. Jamal here. This match was absolutely amazing. I had a blast. We did get a little bit unlucky, and we did not exactly pinpoint what sets he was on certain mons, but we were able to pull out the victory. So for those of you wondering, in January I have 2 leagues going on, and they're 2 leagues that I'm sure a whole lot of you already know what they are. We have GBA season 9, if I'm not mistaken, going on in January as far as I know, which we were announced on Twitter being part of that, which it's cool, I guess. So yeah, we're in GBA season 9, and then we have UCL season 4, which I am most excited about because I really want to use some like fun mons. I'm probably going to draft like an entire team of mons I've never used before. So yeah, look out for UCL season 9, man. So yeah, look out for UCL season 4, because I really just want to have an absolute blast in that season. And those 2 seasons, the GBA season and the UCL season, will definitely be starting in January. So be on the lookout for that. Follow me on Twitter if you guys want to hear more about it. But yeah, in about like 3 or 4 weeks, you guys should be getting some UCL and GBA content, the 2 biggest draft leagues right now in the community, which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, thank you all for watching, guys. You know what to do. Leave a like, check out other stuff. Yeah, I'll see y'all eventually. Yeah, week 3 will be uploaded someday. So later.